welcome to Control Talk Now, your smart buildings videocast and podcast for the week ending April 4th, 2021. It's Easter Sunday, and wishing everybody out there that celebrates Easter a very, very happy Easter. This is episode 395, where we talk about pretty much whatever we want to, but usually HVAC and smart building controls. And I am joined by your co-host and mine, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only control man from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Kenny Smyers. Kenny, welcome to the show, Big Dog.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. It's good to be here. It's good to be stepping into April, getting out of the wintry episode into the spring mode. I can't wait to see the first Pirate game that our opener is, I think, April 5th. So
are you going? You going to the game?
No, the tickets are very limited. You had to be a season ticket holder basically to have access to the opening day. However, April 4th, we're going to 75% in Pennsylvania. So if you comply with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's social distancing and all the other COVID measures, you can open your facility up to 75% now. So
nice.
That might change. They might release a lot more tickets. If they do, I might. Yeah, because I've always been a big baseball fan. How about you?
No, man, I'll tell you what, I am feeling so good. You and I both, I think you've had your second vaccine. I've had my first, but, just psychologically, that has really opened up so many possibilities for me because, according to my wife, once you have the for the first vaccine, you're really, after about a week and a half, you're about 95% protected. So if you got that and you're wearing a mask, the odds of you getting COVID are pretty darn small. So I've been going out a lot more, and I've sort of realized psychologically just kind of what a downer, even though I wasn't thinking about it, it's freeing to be able to go out in public and figure your odds are, you're more likely to get hit by a car or run over by a train than you are getting COVID once you get this vaccine. And so that is encouraging. And apparently everybody else in Atlanta is the same way because people are out and about again. Traffic has gotten bad and so it's kind of good. I think we're making a comeback.
I agree, and it's good time for it because it's mentally. I think a lot of people went through some challenging times because of the inability to see important events, relatives. I had a tragic story where one of our neighbors' mom died, and he couldn't really be a part of it. Had to have video conferencing and window between them, and just really rough stuff. So the sooner that goes away, the better, and hopefully there's been a kind of a slow response now. I guess there's finally an abundance of shots and opportunities to get the shots. And like you said, there's some pushback from a lot of people. They don't want to get the shot. Or I was actually at the VA. I got mine at the Veterans Hospital. And we went on March 4th. And they did a really organized, 30 people each half hour, whatever. And then we moved it in from our cars into the interior of the building, sat in very specific seats, So there was a guy there, he was wearing a Steeler jacket with all the Super Bowl years. And he and I recognized each other. And so the second group, April 1st, supposed to come, there was only like 10 of us. So 20 people didn't show up on the day that they were scheduled for, either because of conflicts of schedule, but the woman that gave me the shot said that there's a lot of people not getting the second shot. They're just not coming back.
No, it's funny you say that because one of my neighbors, the doctor actually told him, he said, you really don't need to get the second one, So, and I'm not advocating that one way or another. I'm getting my second one on Tuesday. But, it's just sort of interesting to me because you think about if you and I were going to travel to Africa, for example, right? We would get all kinds of vaccinations and stuff for bad stuff that's down there. We wouldn't think twice about it, right?
Sure.
So I personally don't understand people not wanting to get the COVID vaccine. I do sort of understand some people have said, well, it hasn't really been tested. And not in conventional methods, but, my wife's brother is one of the people that's been working on it. And, he was telling me that, because we're using technology now like we've never used it before. I got another really good friend who's in biotech. And he's a hippie from way back. He's an not anti-government guy, but, he's not the type of guy that would ever toe the party line. He's been involved in it. But, what they're saying is because of technology, they knew within, April last year, they knew exactly because of artificial intelligence what the makeup of what this was and what the vaccine needed to be. So they spent from April last year until they released the vaccine testing it, right? So they've used technology like they've never used before. And so, because I always had reservations about it. But when I talked to my friend that's in biotech, he goes, "Oh, dude, man, this is the safest one you'll ever take. I mean, this is just golden. I mean, you're an idiot if you don't take it." So anyway, I'm feeling pretty good about it. And the point being is I see light at the end of the tunnel. I think we're going to get back to maybe not normal like we knew it before, but, I'm really encouraged about, travel and things, baseball games, football games. I think by, football season, we should be back full capacity and, things that we grew up and cherished, I think are coming back.
The school district that I'm in, they actually had parents did a little march to bring back 5 days of school, stop the hybrid, stop the 3 and 2 or whatever they're doing. Right. And they went 5 days of school. So to see parents get active and actually carry signs and march, protest something in front of the school saying, we want our kids back in school 5 days a week.
Right.
So that to me is a real acid test. And then they're playing football games. The Eastern Conference, Northeast Conference, where Duquesne, Robert Morris, Bryant College, they finished up their season last week, and they're going to have playoffs. So they deferred the season. So it's good to see things pick up. I think, part of our culture is that involvement, and the high school students, being able to go to the prom and doing all these things now. It's just so important. And weddings, you can invite your whole family instead of 10, 12 people. It's so, I think you're right.
I think that's coming back. I think the great news is that's coming back. And I think, things will be different, but I think there's going to be a lot of the stuff that, that means a lot to just the things you described, being able to go to a wedding, being able to have somebody sick, going to the hospital and seeing them, be able to go to a sporting event. Be able to get stuck in traffic. Who would have thought that would have been fun? Oh my gosh, look at all these people that are out. I'm stuck in traffic.
I told you I had a friend, he told me that he missed traffic. And I remember you said he'd gone out and, but I thought it sounds so corny, but he missed, seeing people. And I guess you amuse yourself when you're sitting in 20 minutes of traffic, seeing who's next to you, if they're picking a nose or smoking or whatever. It's like, it's, just some sort of human interest there.
So I got a COVID joke. Okay. It's not even a joke, but okay. So there was this guy and his wife passed away in the Holy Lands, right? And so they said, look, for $500 we'll bury her here. For $40,000 we can send her back to the United States and you can bury her there. And he said, I'll do the $40,000. And he goes, really? That's a lot of money. He goes, now this way I can make sure she's buried and stays dead.
Oh, dear.
Well, we could change that to the husband. It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't mean it that way, but the Holy Lands, he's not taking a chance on her being healed and resurrecting, right? So I think that's probably a good
time to the Easter too.
Hot time to Easter. There we go. So I think we hope we have been politically incorrect in a politically correct way. But hey, Kenny, I know we got a couple posts coming. What do you say we bring our guest on first, and we got a couple things to talk about after we're done with him? How about introducing our guest?
Love to.
Cool.
Eric, I'd love to. We have Mr. Ken Sinclair, owner, editor of Automated Buildings. And he has another April issue editorial that's going to catch a lot of attention. And welcome to the show, Mr. Ken Sinclair.
Welcome, Ken.
Thank you very much.
Well, listen.
Being on Control Talk.
Well, we love having you here, buddy. First of all, happy Easter to you and Jane. And with that, little known fact, Ken Sinclair, and I know that, you keep up with a lot of stuff, but my co-host and yours, the one and only Kenny Smyers, little known fact that his great cousin on his mother's side, okay, Charles Darwin Smyers, is, somebody you talk about with your theme this month, adaptations. I'm gonna let you guys hash it out. Ken, I know you got some stories from Uncle Charlie, and Ken, you talk about adaptation, and let's talk about that and why it's so important now.
Okay, well, Go ahead, Ken.
No, I just, I didn't know if I was leading it there, but the picture of Mr. Darwin, my Uncle Charlie Darwin, it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. And I think that's a good lead in and preview of what your April editorial is all about. Tell us more.
Okay, kind of picked up on that theme at the first of last month and wrote an article for contractor, and we kind of got thinking about it. And the other side of that is a Tony Bennett quote: is the fact that the more I learn, the less I know. And we certainly, every time you learn about a new dimension, it's like, oh my God, I really don't understand. And actually, that was interesting because that was our discussion before we started. Is we kept saying, as we understand more what's going on, we understand less because we understand we don't understand all those pieces. But eventually, all of this stuff falls on us, and we have to do our daily job, and we have to adapt. And if we kind of look back, I think, at all of our histories, the thing that made us who we are today is probably not how much we know or how smart we were or any of those things. It is just simply how we adapted to the situations we were presented. Control talk is probably a great example of that. Is I think Eric saw in the early days that video was going to be very powerful, and he wanted to be part of that. And he kind of picked that piece out of all the technologies flying by him and said, I'm going to make something like Control Talk, Control Trends. And so that's kind of that was, I would call, was an adaptation of what was going on, and just picking out one of those pieces that you want to do. And I think that's the stage we're at as an industry. Excuse me. And there's just so many things going on that we understand. And every time we attempt to unpeel the onion, there's kind of less stuff we understand, but we do have an understanding of how all these pieces are fitting together. But I think we have to kind of just adapt. We have to basically pick some of these pieces and move on.
Well said. I couldn't agree with you more. I really liked what you said about pick a piece of technology and master it, and then you become part of that puzzle piece, and that's what's, you put it all together with collaboration and the communities of excellence that we're seeing form kind of naturally. But Eric, what do you think about adaptation?
Well, it's interesting because, Ken, you give an example, I'm talking about you being the youngest brother and, having to be more agile, right? Learning to run faster and see things a little bit differently. And Kenny Smyers, I know for sure that you had to learn to adapt because, as you were fond of saying, with your family was so large that there was a dozen donuts, somebody wasn't going to get a donut, right?
Yeah,
so,
it came up one short.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that, if we break it down, I mean, one, it sounds like is focus, right? Picking something to focus on. And I would love to, sort of morph this into, okay, so what should we be focusing on going into the future if you're trying to adapt in this industry? The other seems like, speed and agility seem to be, another, key component of it. And again, I would like to take those concepts and sort of break them down into tangibles that our audience could take away and go, yeah, if I'm a company, what does agile look like? What does speed look like? What does focus? What should we be focusing on specifically in today's marketplace? And I think that could be a really useful takeaway for our audience.
Okay, one thing I see, and sort of dawned on me when I was writing all of this stuff, is that I think we're all dealing with different environments. Actually, the Monday Alive has been a good melding pot of that, as we're talking. And quite often, the situation somebody's describing is completely different in somebody else's geographical area. And I think what we're starting to see is a less of a sort of a national way of doing things and more of a city-wide way of doing things, or a close community might be a better description. And so that has us adapting differently, and not only adapting differently for various markets, whereas we kind of always tried to move towards that global North American market philosophy. I think we now have to adapt and start to look what the local people want. What do they want us to provide? What services? What's marketable in one city may not be marketable in another city at all. We're having some significant rules that are starting to pop up. And so I think that's part of what I see the adaptation is to try and just understand your environment. You know, I don't think we spent a lot of time in the past in evaluating our environment.
Well, hang on real quick, Ken. I want to hop in real quick. And then Kenny, I want you to hop in too, because what I heard you say was really cool was that, different locations, different needs. Okay. And that's got me to think, well, what drives that typically is codes and specifications, right? So it seems like you can adapt in a reactive form, right? You can react to what's being asked for. Or it also seems like you could adapt in a creative form. Steve Jobs, I think, for example, the guy at Apple, I think he never developed a product for what people wanted then. He was always adapting products for what they were going to want. I mean, Henry Ford, the guy that founded Ford Company, is famous for saying, if I listened to my customers, i.e., I adapted to what they were asking for, we'd be making faster horses and buggies, right? So agree or disagree, do we have sort of two different forms of adaptation, one to what people are asking for and one is sort of a creative, what people don't know yet that they want?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at it as what is your reaction to both of those situations? Is how are you adapting? How are you changing the way you're doing business? And I think that's what we need to do is we need to take a look and we have to, look at that focused area that we're actually trying to sell into or we're trying to have a relationship with. There we also have a whole bunch of technology tools that are falling on us. The digital twin concept that is a really hot topic right now. And the whole idea is to create a digital model of what it is we're doing. And in one of the articles, Nicholas, he points out that possibly we need a digital triplet, which there's a model of what it is we're doing now, a digital twin, and then we need a one in the future because we know that it's going to change. We don't know exactly how the future is going to play out, but we have a pretty good idea that what we're going to be doing next year is different than what we're doing now. So actually having feedback from what we anticipate we're going to have to change to is actually a lot of value into the digital twin type of thinking. So that's kind of an interesting thing. I would call that, that's some of the adaptations. And some of these tools are also going to be great for teaching us what we don't know. A lot, as we keep understanding more, we keep understanding more of what we don't know. And any kind of feed forward, feed backward system that helps us understand better where we're heading is of use.
I think that's a really good point. I really like that digital triplet. That's the first time I heard it, and I really like it. But to your point, Eric and Ken, the weather, unions, population, economics, wealth distribution, politics, social conventions, technology, and the advancements in the internet, is it free or not? I mean, think of all the different places just in North America where you have population densities that, large metropolitans. So to your point about the point of view, Ken, is the way our industry evolved was it clustered around where the biggest markets were. And then, where they could put a branch in or put contractors could, service the areas. But I mean, to make a product and then make it fit all those different points of view is very difficult. So I think we saw a shift, and I think you had a lot to do with it back with those collaboratoriums where information used to be so secretive and you didn't share information. All of a sudden it was like all the people that worked for a major vendor left, went into distribution and contracting, took all the secrets with them, broke all the mysteries up, and all the secret sauce got distributed so that when people realize that if you have a basic railroad track like a backnet or something that everybody can build around, all of a sudden the smaller companies seized that opportunity and just exploded. I think when you started seeing routers in every building and internet was more and more pervasive and free, that was just a burst of technology. All of a sudden wireless and these things just started popping up, products and everything. So to your point about the digital triplet, I mean, imagine what the world's gonna be like in 10 years. With all the GPS and we're gonna have, the internet is gonna get more and more, crazy because of we got the satellites up there, the cars with autonomous vehicles now is the one I think is coming fastest. We're gonna see autonomous vehicles, probably you'll drive down the road in 2 years, maybe, see, the guy might be in a driver's seat, but he's not driving. Once that satellite, Mr. Musk saw his, what is it? He putting up there, Skynet, I think it is. it's going to change the way we do everything. I mean, it's going to have a different, you have to have a young, agile mind to deal with it, because a lot of the stuff you have investments in and all these hard assets are going to be, they're going to be very sluggish and very hard, but these new technologies are going to just kick butt.
Well, guys, listen, and I hate to be the one who doesn't understand this, but tell me again what a digital triplet does. I know about a digital twin. What does a triplet do?
I think the biggest thing is, in Nicholas's article, I'll read it right here. It says, "How can we adapt to a world that was, that is, and will be?" So I think the triplet is the will be. We know that what we're designing for is going to change. I think we all understand that no matter what I do this year, right? I go out and I make this plan, and you go to implement it in your company. You know darn well that there's future information you have, and we've been we kind of factor it in. But what I think is pointing out is that as the digital twin is basically emulating the actual operations of the building, we need to have feedback of things that we know are going to change. The autonomous car is going to change how many parking spaces.
Exactly, bingo. That's what I was going to say. That's what I was trying to drive at, trying to get to. I wouldn't in the weeds there, but the reality is that they're designing buildings now in California where in the future it's going to go from a parking garage into an office building or some kind of, a different future.
Right. So a triplet would be an emulation of your building that's being sort of future paced, if you will, by probabilities. So like if for example, autonomous vehicles come, we can program that in and we can see how the building would react to that. Is that essentially, it's a simulation that you can test future scenarios against? Is that?
That's correct. And actually the whole title reads, "Is there a need for digital triplets, quadruplets, siblings even?" Basically,
that sounds like a Smyers family approach.
Yeah,
go ahead.
That's very clever. We give Nicholas credit. That's awesome.
It's not so simple. There's a lot of what they call them actors. Actually, in the other digital twin article by Troy Harvey, he talks about actors, and he basically starts breaking down. I think what we're also heading off into is another dimension that none of us are really knowledgeable about, is this whole how the AI part of this is going to in fact, these guys are starting to work with this now, the self-learning algorithms, and this is starting to become a reality. So this is kind of the next generation. When we came into the industry and with our DDC magic, these guys are coming in with their digital twins and their magic, and it's we're trying to understand what it is they're actually talking about.
Well, Ken, real quick, do me a favor, define actor for me, because you use that term, and I've heard people say like this, a bad actor or whatever, but vis-a-vis smart buildings, how do we define an actor?
I just want to go into Troy's articles on there, and it's called Quantum Digital Twin from System Topologies to AI. As you can see, the old control words we're using are all disappearing, and we're getting new words. In the middle of that one is a graphic. It shows 5 things, and it shows behavior, actors, computer properties, and Quantus, which I think is their program. And so anyway, you can kind of start to see that how he's kind of defining that.
Well, actually, I found the actors are, to answer your question, Eric, actors are the role a piece of equipment takes in any system. It turns out that there are 9 roles in any describable system. Take a buffer tank. It's a store, so is a battery, a sand bed, a flash drive, transport. So pumps move water, fans move air, conveyors move boxes. So they are the components of the inner building.
Well, that's very cool. So it's a great way to say it.
That take action. Yeah,
they take action.
And
okay.
the significant part about them and the actors is they're the things that actually change what the process is happening, such as fans, pumps,
Well, Ken, I got to say one thing real quick, because I'm looking at your thing. This is probably the most formidable, editorial list I've ever seen. I mean, you've got some really high-ranking folks on this thing. You've got Mark P. Talk Smith, Sudha Jamthi, Nicholas Warren, Troy Harvey, Philip Kopp, Andy Frank, Skip Freeman. You got J2 Enterprise, Reza. I don't know her, but CEO and founder. You've got a heck of a team on this edition here, man. Scott Cochran, Jim Henry. I mean, John Petsy. I mean, dang, this is like a faculty of the building automation world, you know.
Actually, the other thing I like is if you start diving down into them, take a look at what felt. Okay, no, too many thoughts here, but what I'm looking at is a lot of them are also kind of speaking to some of the discussions we've had in the past. If you take a look at what Philip Kopp is doing, the only constant is change, and basically he's working on like complete wireless offerings, and he's been working with Facilio. I think you've had some exposure to them, and so he's building these electronic products that basically attach to the assets and start communicating and start building their own networks and stuff. And he basically refers back to some of the articles he's written and us getting together in Orlando and some of the discussions we have there. So actually, if you kind of read through most of the articles, they actually start by some of the chit chats we've had over the past. Another one like that is Casper, Don Casper. I'm trying to think. They were out of Santa Barbara, but not the which was the one that Cisco went. Not that company, but
Richard Zeta. No,
not,
I'm sorry.
Not Richard Zeta, but they were a company that did with first
Solidyne?
first artificial intelligence. They were using basically prediction models to basically control buildings, like about 10 years ago. And Don, that's when I first met Don.
Yeah, we've interviewed that guy. His father was a captain of the ship, Igor.
Oh, Mesic.
yeah, that's
Igor
it.
Mesic. Dr. Igor,
Yeah, okay.
Igor Mesic.
What was the name of the company?
Dr. Igor Mesic and Company.
You know, I get right to
Name of the
Control
company.
Trends and Google that and it comes up. I read that every once in a while. Yeah, that was an incredible one.
Yeah, okay.
So Ken, we haven't heard from him in a while. So he's actually got that stuff rocking and rolling now, huh?
Well, now Casper's with another bunch of companies, but he refers back to that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what's kind of going on is a kind of a dialogue of what's been going on in the industry, and I've got a whole bunch of people kind of updating us. So yeah, you're quite right, Ken. I was quite pleased with it. I'm so busy these days just getting this stuff online that I sometimes have a hard time I usually only get to read it when it's all done.
Nice.
Because
Nice.
I'm reading it in bits and pieces for editorial content.
It's called Echo Rhythm. Echo Rhythms, Dr. Igor
That's
Mesic.
it. That's the name I'm looking for.
And John Morris explains true analytics and using artificial intelligence smart buildings. Yeah, we had him on the show. He blew our socks off.
What year was that, Kenny?
2014.
Okay, so Don Casper was, he came on as their kind of lead technical kind of guy back then. So he's been with another company in between, and now he's with this company, which is centennialbuildings.com, and they're doing some kind of interesting stuff. So they're basically, because they're both pushing the wireless technology and pushing connection back to traditional systems. So what I'm kind of calling that the wireless wave. As you know, what normally we talk about is what I'm writing for. I guess it's the May issue now. I'm starting to write the article that kind of always leads into that, and the title of it is "Digital Twin Morphs to Triplets Plus the New Wireless Wave," and this is what I'm calling the new wireless wave. And I'm saying their April issue themed adaptation, there are several articles depicting the new wireless wave, which is now hitting us with low cost, easy deployable services and devices, combined with the power of cell-like wireless and powerful new breed IoT services. I think the neat thing about this, which has got to, scare the heck out of master systems integrators, is the ability for this new wireless wave, to basically self-assemble its networks. You can kind of imagine that when you walk into a store or walk into anything, your phone kind of adapts to everything around it. A little bit of Bluetooth here, a little bit of near field there. That whole thinking that we don't have to actually go out and reconfigure the network as we have to in all of our products. So I think we're starting to see the application of that occurring, and we're starting to see those technologies, the people that have their heads around that. The other thing that's happened, I just changed cell providers, and it's actually an interesting one because we moved over to basically our cable supplier is basically providing a cell service in our area, and they basically work off their towers for their cable points, and then when they run out of that, then they buy cell time from the traditional people. So it's like a whole new combination, and the cost of your cell phone is $0 per month.
Wow.
You basically buy data like you buy gas, kind of thing. So it's an interesting kind of twist on how that's going. That kind of thinking is starting to appear in our devices. So as we attach wireless devices to something else that I got digging around, and it's like, I've talked about this before. So I went back to my article of 2001, and I was talking about the componentization era, where I saw us going with DDC back in those days, is that these DDC controllers would be all components of the building would not come with hardwired control systems. They would actually come with DDC panels, and they would support either BACnet or LAN or some type of a protocol that they would then mesh into the systems. But that concept of componentization is now occurring in absolutely everything, and we're starting to see those components attach themselves to assets, which we actually have another article out of Australia on basically they're using it in hospitals, and all of the hospital equipment actually has one of these little wireless devices on it, so they know where it is, who signed it out, have complete control of it. It has a IT identity, and I think that's kind of the trend as to where we're heading in as an industry. Is all devices will come with an IP identity. We're kind of seeing that now. If we think in our houses, our light bulb has that kind of, it just blows me away that a light bulb has its own IP address and basically can reach out to the cloud for its time schedules and colors and all of those things. Is that kind of thinking, if we can get that technology down, it starts to appear in all of our sensors. And we still have to, maintain our existing control systems, but some of the pieces, like Casper's talking about, kind of bridge over, reach out, grab all that electronic stuff, reach out, grab out all that tritium, networks and any other existing, some BACnet stuff, and it meshes it all together. Anyway,
okay. Hang on. This is great stuff. But my question,
if your head doesn't hurt, you don't understand.
No. My question for both you guys is, what would let's say Charles Darwin is a consultant to one of these big control manufacturers or a master systems integrator. You mentioned them, or a distributor. I mean, what's his advice going to be to these guys? Adapt or die? Is he just going to tell them to go ahead and die, or what do you do if you're a player already, and how do you, obviously you got to adapt to it, but I guess one of the key components of survival, if I'm understanding you guys, or components of adaptation, is agility. So what are today's, from a company perspective, let's get down to we're talking about the normalizations of adaptation and agility. But what are the attributes of agility today? If I'm a company, I want my company to be more agile. What are the attributes? How do I gold them on it? What are the specifics?
I think you got to pump.
Actually, I feel like our April issue is the the guy that's selling the peeler, and it does this and it does that.
Yeah.
We also have an article from Glenn Almendinger from Harbor Research. I think everybody knows him, and he kind of sums it all up, and I use that in my my article. We're at the cusp of the perfect storm of smart system innovation, multiple parallel technology developments. If you read through that, he does a real good summation of where we're at and some of this, this myriad of technologies falling on us. And then ironically enough, Anto and I chat a little bit about his PADI, which is a solution, basically a solution of putting it together. And the title is cute because it's called Connected Complexity. And I think to take, what are we really talking about? We're really talking about connected complexity. So take a quick read of that and sort of see how the PADI approach of having like an open source to basically pull together some of these systems. So these are some of the forces that are out there moving, and it's kind of, automated buildings has kind of always been in that situation of trying to grab all these technologies and how do they fit together. So I think I'm quite pleased with the April issue. Here's all the pieces. You decide what that adaptation means to you.
Okay.
Right. Well, I mean, I'll tell you what, Eric, you're going to like the one article because you always talk about the two types of changes being structural or
cyclical. Yeah.
Cyclical. I'm going to get back to that, but the definition of digital twin, because I think you asked the question and we didn't really get right to an answer, but the digital twin is defined a digital twin as a virtual representation of a real world machines and processes synchronized at a specified frequency and fidelity. Digital twins of complex machines or processes actually consist of many models of components and subsystems, each one pinned to measurement data and collected by sensors. Digital twins can include current actual operating information as well as analytic capabilities and recommendation engines to enable real-time operations. So basically they show a picture of a turbine in its digital twin, and that's what Igor Mesic did. If you remember, Eric, because it was like they did it for engines, for aircraft engines. What it should be running, engines, yeah. What it should be running as, and what it is running as. And so it shows a nice little diagram there. Well, I'll tell you, this fabulous April edition, Ken. I'm just excited because like you said, it's all there. And you said earlier, Eric, too, about how the digital triplet is the future, where you poise yourself if you're building a building, how you think about different aspects of what's going on and the future trends coming in, and automated. The cars are going to go by themselves, and the people are going to go in the vehicles, as they need them. They're going to run 24/7. There's no parking spots anymore. I mean, the future of that. I mean, how do you position your business? Let's say you're a convenience store, or you're a hospital, or
a distributor.
Well, I think what Ken said earlier too, how you get yourself protected is you got to pump youth into your organization. You got to pump champions of these technologies and get yourself an internal champion for each facet of artificial intelligence, data processing, analytics, and just hopefully you can compete successfully and deal with crazy crap like COVID-19. Who could have seen that meteorite hit the economy?
Right.
I mean, it just blew all these programs into smithereens. All the professional sports, all these travel agencies. Another guy just bit the bullet. A travel agent that we know. Just there's nobody going anywhere enough to survive anymore. And imagine if you were invested into the shipping industry or leisure cruises or whatever you want to call luxury cruises. That'd be devastating.
Crazy. Well, Ken Sinclair, you'd be proud of me because I've gone from, taking a millennial to lunch to a younger person lunch. Now I'm scouring the local kindergarten for talent for the future. So I'm definitely going to future-proof our business. But hey,
I'm actually at that point too, as I'm trying to instill in my millennium young guns and young mentors that I get a lot of this information from, that they now need to reach out and get younger folks, because there's people coming in with even wilder ideas than this. But I think what I'm trying to prove out or point out to the industry is that it's really all about adaptation. And thanks for bringing up the COVID curve that got thrown at us. And look what we did. We adapted, eh? If you'd have told somebody in 2019 that the world would have changed so quickly to so many things in 2020, you'd say, no way that's ever going to happen. And we have people like Microsoft saying that, what normally takes 6, 7, 8 years to change is happening in 2 months. And we adapted. We said we would. We immediately did things we said we would never do. We had Zoom meetings. The whole paradigm changed. And I think I kind of like the Darwin thing, that it's all about adaptation to our environment. But the bigger problem is for us to try and understand our environment. And so what I kind of hope that the April issue does a little bit is it gives you kind of a spotting of a few things that are sort of happening outside of your bailiwick that you should probably be aware of, because ultimately they may affect your life. And this whole idea of sort of North America thinking versus community thinking, I think is a radical change. And we need to adapt to that. And we have to adjust, and what the answer is for one person is going to be quite different. And so we're all going to just have to adapt to whatever situation we're presented with.
Well, I want to echo what Kenny said. Quite a think piece, Ken Sinclair. The April issue, I think, is a must read for anybody that wants to sort of future-proof their business. And Kenny, do you have anything else you want to cover? Because I wanted to transition to some of the.
I just wanted. I found that I was saying structural behavior are two distinct types of adaptation. It goes on to explain that structural adaptation is when physical structure of an organism adapts over time to better suit its environment. For example, plants that live in extremely wet or dry climates have different structural attributes for storing water. Behavioral adaptation, on the other hand, is when an organism changes the way it reacts to changing conditions, even if its underlying structure remains the same. For example, the migration of animals north to south during different seasons of the year. So I got a kick out of reading that, Eric, because you always talked about the two types of change.
Right.
And but it's fascinating. But I think you're right, Ken. I think we're finally catching up to seeing how much happened and how much we did change. In other words, if you look at everything from like a small business, the Small Business Administration, looking at the May 2019, May 2020, May 2021, or whatever, and you see what happened there, and it's just amazing that we went through it. It's already past us now. So now we're looking back at lessons learned and everything. But I didn't want to get off the subject, but what is the biggest adaptation we did during COVID, in your opinion, in our industry? What was the remote viewing and all the remote stuff, but what else did we do to survive and adapt? What'd you think of, Ken?
Well, the big one, of course, was just not physically going to work, and travel was probably we all traveled a crazy amount, and that just stopped. And it's interesting when we chit chat on Monday Live, that comes up is because it's everybody on the stream spent half of their time flying across the country and sitting in airports, and now they sit in their Zoom room, and they basically have more meetings than the comment is they now have more meetings, and they're probably more effective than they were flying around the world. And basically, so our carbon footprint was greatly reduced. A lot of that stuff that made us question what we were really doing, because we were also busy doing that we didn't have a chance to kind of stop and think, and we were forced to stop and think. And I think when we return, we will not return to the exact position we were at. The return to normal it'll never be normal. It'll never back to any kind of a normal. And if you read, there's just a barrage of articles talking about how we're going to come back. It's definitely going to be a hybrid mode. Nobody wants to go on a daily basis to their office anymore. They want to have the flexibility to to either go, it's not that they don't want to go back to their office. They still like that communal and that portion of it, but it's maybe 2 days a week, 3 days a week, which is going to significantly release a lot of real estate and let us redeploy it. And so there's where some of the opportunities are, is to just basically to build adaptation. Really, that is the industry, I would say. The industry for 2021 going on now is basically he who is able to market adaptation is going to succeed. That's my thought.
Well, I got to tell you something. It's interesting because please tell the people in Atlanta that they need to continue to work from home, because I've gotten out a couple of times and the traffic's never been worse. So people are back out. And I think part of it is, and I wanted to sort of transition a little bit, both Kens, because, I'm getting ready to get my second vaccine. Kenny, I think you've had yours. I don't know whether you've had yours.
Yeah,
or
I got
not,
mine
Ken.
April 1st.
Yeah, but that one doesn't count because it was the first. But they were just kidding. They just put a needle in.
It hurts
but,
and it counts, and I'm sick.
yeah. But I just noticed for me psychologically, once I got that first vaccine, I still go out and I wear the mask, but now I'm going out more. And I think I mentioned to you off air, Ken Sinclair, that I don't think I really realized how much it was weighing on me, the fact I might get COVID, it was psychological and everything. So now, I am really ready to travel. I'm ready to get out. Apparently everybody else in Atlanta is too. So, it's interesting. So I wonder how that is going to affect, for example, I know we got 2 conferences we need to mention that are coming up that are virtual, Haystack Connect and Controls Con. I think, Ken, you're participating in one or both of those. But, are we going to see the virtual conferences again, or are we going to see? I mean, just knowing how I'm feeling right now, I can't wait for AHR, the next conference. Sign me up. Are we going to see record numbers of people attending conferences again? So that's going to be another form of adaptation, right? Because if you're just totally locked into Zoom meetings now, you're probably, it's probably not going to be the way you think it's going to be.
Well, I think the value of the virtual conference has been seen and documented. I kind of think that, yes, we will move back and the conferences will come back, but they will be hybrid conferences. I think in the future, anybody would not be a good idea to just hold a conference that did not have a virtual presence. The other thing the virtual one allowed us to do is it opened up our conferences to global thinking, which we kind of didn't realize it, but if you held it in a geographical location, even though the people could travel, you had less of them coming. And now what happens is people see an interesting conference, they jump in no matter where they are. And the other thing that happens with hybrid is they get recorded. And so all of a sudden, all of that valuable information that is normally at a conference is recorded, and we can actually go watch it after it was presented. And this allows us to kind of pick and choose. And I think that's an interesting one too, because we saw the universities come apart during COVID in the fact you couldn't go to university. And so even though people were paying for big university things, they couldn't go. The kids ended up learning online. And then all of a sudden we start questioning the value of a university. What I really want is I want this particular specialized course you have at your university. And so I may go to 10 universities next year and basically cherry pick. So I think it's just started to flip a lot of changes.
I can see that with the colleges for sure. That makes a lot of sense to me. But I want to come back and comment on the conferences, because I tell you what, if I had a conference, I think the last thing I would do is make it a hybrid. Because we get back to supply and demand. If you're going to make it hybrid, nobody's going to come. People will come, but not as many. I think that, I don't know about you, but guys, I'm Zoomed to death. I mean, if the gods would come down and make, Zoom go away after this COVID thing's over, I wouldn't shed a tear. I mean, I think people are so oversensitized. I mean, it's just been too much. It's too much content. It's overload. So what happens if you got too much of it? And again, let's think like marketeers. Okay, if you want to be different and you got a conference, Jim Young, don't make your next conference hybrid. Make people come to it. You can still video stuff there, which he does, right? But
then they charge a fee for it too. So I mean, you're talking, things aren't free. So to put a conference on, you need to generate a lot of money. There's a lot of bills.
Yeah, you do. So anyway, I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm saying just as a marketeer, I'm thinking, I mean, give everything away and you sell nothing. But
I tell you what, we used to say it was like trade shows: can't live with them, can't live without them.
Right.
I mean, and then the efficacy. I think to Ken Sinclair's point too is that we're going to have an opportunity to measure the efficacy of trade shows. We're going to see exactly what you said, Eric. The jury's out of how many people will come. I think there is. The one person from Las Vegas summed it up. One of the he was a general manager of one of the hotels. He said there's 3 buckets of people. First bucket, as soon as those doors open, they're coming. 1/3 of people are waiting at the door for it to open, and they're coming. The second bucket of people is waiting to see what happens to the first bucket of people if they lived through the experience and had a good time and it was worth the money. And then the third bucket of people aren't coming for a long, long time because
they probably weren't even coming before COVID either.
No, they're saying that the typical group of people coming. So they're losing about 30% of the revenues from people coming in house. So if you want to get those revenues, you got to give them something to look at too. So to Ken's point, you come up with a hybrid and those people could access that opportunity or that event.
Well, I've got an idea, Ken Sinclair and Kenny. What we'll do for these conferences, if they go hybrid, where we get that, what we will do is we will rent a really luxurious hotel ballroom, and we'll have the open bar, and you can watch the virtual conference with your friends. Yeah, at the bar.
Actually, I think there's 2 trends kind of evolving out of that. One is that the younger folks are more able to learn online than we are, and less they want to learn more things, and they want to learn more particular things. So if there's a particular speaker on a particular subject, they would love to zone in. And I think we've all done that. We've gone to a conference based on one presentation that we really wanted to see, and other than that, we wouldn't go. So that's a problem. The other thing that has come out of a lot of these Zoom meetings is although a lot of the companies thought they would just be in financial doo-doo, basically not going to these conferences, it was costing them a fortune, and as the people that had products. And ironically enough, their sales stayed up relatively constant. Our industry did really well through COVID that way. And the fact that their travel expenses were completely eliminated, they had no idea. So all of a sudden, their advertising budgets had millions of dollars left in them rather than being drained, and that made it,
offset some of the losses. But I think in our industry, though, once the travel restrictions were lifted, and once April 4th, I was at the meeting restaurant. We had a lunch meeting, and the restaurant was actively preparing to go to 75% capacity while we were there. There was like a construction site, relocating the tables or whatever. So if you get the certification, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania gives you a label to put on, or a sticker to put on your window saying that you're certified to reopen. So we always wondered how they were going to do this. Well, April 4th is a big day. The Pirates home openers coming up here, and right now they have 5,000 tickets, and they're going to double that. And maybe by the time their opener happens, they can sell more tickets. So we don't know yet exactly how it's going to happen. But since we're allowed to move, I think business is improving, because a lot of our business is demonstrations, and a lot of it is people to people. The people that are watching Zoom calls aren't committed to action. You can't get people to buy things and make investments and whatever, because they can click you right off. There's a immediate separation, and then there's no call for action. There's no summaries. There's no anything, because in what we sell, building automation, you need to get that one-on-one, or that conference in front of a board, school board or whatever. You need to demonstrate something to a mechanic that's trying to understand the concept of ionization, and air purification. And if you don't show them, and we got little boxes, we put smoke in them and they turn the ionization on, and it goes away, and it's magic. I'm saying so that there's so many things that we can learn when we come back, and we not reinvent it, but go back and see now this version versus the other version. We a lot of improvements And I'm just anxious to see what happens. I think
Yeah.
Eric's right, though. People are going to jump on the opportunity to travel when it's
Well,
finally safe to travel.
Yeah, at least right off the bat. But, Ken Sinclair, you bring up a great point. I really think that, it won't be what normal was before. It's going to be a hybrid, synthesis of all kinds of things. It's going to be exciting. And Ken Sinclair, thank you so much. The April issue is outstanding. I think you've got to go check that out. Thanks for all you do for the industry, Ken, keeping us up to speed. And we are ahead of you on one.
What was that?
We are ahead of Ken Sinclair on one prediction.
Oh, okay.
Pardon?
Yeah. See, that was we're ahead of you, Nostradamus, on one. Kenny and I've already started pondering how blockchain is going to change the industry. That's going to be the great disruptor. So when you're ready for that blockchain issue, let me and Kenny know.
That's right. That's right. Well, it's interesting. I don't know if we're still recording, but
We are.
Seeing some of these guys that were kind of sleeping for the COVID year, they were hibernating, and now they're coming back with resurgence, with additional horsepower and effort.
Yeah.
Name Passive Logic, and I'm just curious to see. They're getting real active on LinkedIn. I see Troy's just hired another engineer out of somewhere, and looks like they're building quite a staff. So it'll be interesting to see how they launch their AI, forward-thinking version of building automation.
Yeah. We need to get Troy back on the show. He's been on the show. Ken, I know you've interviewed him a lot, Ken Sinclair. So he's one of the most interesting guys in our industry, I think. We got a lot of
I think so too.
guys. But
Actually, the other thing that we've been chatting a lot about on Monday Live, actually on Monday, the Wednesday Live session that sets up the Monday Live programs, is that all the money that is being invested by these companies that are sort of new to our industry, basically IoT companies that are and artificial intelligence companies and digital twin companies, and they're getting incredible investments, and being bought. And it's almost like they're akin it to the .com phenomena, which we all went through, and we saw people buying .com. Like, it doesn't make sense. Why would they spend 30 million billion for that? But it is in fact happening. So we've got this whole other movement that is happening above our industry. Also, we've got Amazon Web Services. We've got Microsoft. We've got everybody is
IBM.
Basically the cloud. All these cloud identities that are moving about as well. So again, there's just a lot of changes, a lot of adaptation that is needed. It's of concern, I think, and we can't just sort of sit here and say, why don't they invest in us? We know we got all the answers, and maybe we don't got all the answers.
There's one caveat I think I have to throw in here before we close this up, and that is, what if the plug gets pulled? What if we lose the internet? What if we lose cloud coverage? I'm reading a book, 1 Second After. It's about an EP, electromagnetic pulsation. And Ken, you've got 50 years invested in the industry. Do you think that we still should put a little bit of time and energy into survivability and sustainability in case we lose the plug? We lose the internet. I'm worried that I see so many things that become so dependent, 100% dependency on connectivity and assured cloud coverage or connection. I think somewhere along the line we have to have a little bit of reservation, a little bit of canned goods stored in the food cabinet somewhere. So just in case,
But didn't we kind of lose that when we put in the DDC controller? I mean, we all know.
Well, we always had that.
When it crashes, there's no controls. I mean, it's the exact same discussion we had trying to get people to let go of their pneumatics and their relays and put in a digital system. Because that was their point, is that when that panel crashes, you don't have any control. So somehow over the last 20 years, we've kind of become comfortable that if we have this little controller there, I do believe that little controller or something that looks like a cell phone is going to end up controlling our devices. But the point is if it loses the network, it'll have at least as much functionality as our cell phone does. I always use a cell phone as it is just truly an amazing device, because when you do lose cell and Wi-Fi, it still is functional. You can still look at your pictures. You can still do a whole bunch of things, and it could still be controlling a building. So that's exactly the technology we need. And if you get some kind of a storm that can take out every cell phone, yeah, then we're in trouble. But we got bigger troubles than.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things that's always funny. It's normally open, normally closed, spring return or whatever. If you lose power, what does it matter? You get the last bit of circulation of hot water or chilled water, but after that, what do you got?
Yeah.
Well, what do you got?
I think those rules still have to be obeyed. That a lot of stuff that's in the clouds and stuff that's on the ground. A lot of that has to be on the ground. The fail-safe positions and fire stuff and. Has to be hardwired. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I think the fail-safe position, if you want to know what the fail-safe position is, read the April issue of AutomatedBuildings.com. Ken Sinclair, thank you so much as always. Much appreciated. Best to Jane, and we will see you in May.
Have a great day.
Ken. Bye.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you too, buddy.
Back at you.
Well, great stuff from Ken Sinclair as always, Kenny. And man, I tell you, it was a great long interview, but we got a couple posts to cover. So what do you say we get through those?
Yeah, well, I'm our friend Fred Gordy, Smart Buildings Cybersecurity Symposium, an event online like no other. There's a registration link on that post that I think, if you're interested in what's really and truly happening, and there's some great videos too. 3 videos are provided there too. But it's a different perspective in addition to the 4 stories. So they're going to create almost like a crime scene and go through the forensics. And so the addition, they're going to have 4 episodes of the event, and the actor who will tell practical real world stories of how they improve security and plans to continue on in the secure future of their building system. So it's really probably the most deep dive in cybersecurity that you can get without paying for it. It's amazingly rich, talking several experts of cybersecurity in the country. And then there's also, they have an organization called the CS Squared AI. So the Control System Cybersecurity Association International. So pretty neat stuff.
Well, and of course, Fred Gordy, man, yeah, he is, if you want to know about cybersecurity, he is your guy. We're good friends with Fred. We love Fred, but we've watched him sort of be one of the not cheerleaders, but one of the like Paul
early
Revere,
advocates.
right? Advocates early on, before anybody really took cybersecurity and building automation controls too serious. But we've watched him evolve, Kenny, and I would say he's probably as knowledgeable as anybody in the country, especially vis-a-vis smart building controls. So encourage you to sign up for that, Fred. Wherever you are, man, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great.
Yep. He was he brought us on board. I remember the list he gave us on what to do, cybersecurity measures. I remember it was a refrigerator list, put out in the break room, so everybody in the organization could get a real quick, important insight about cybersecurity.
What was the guy that he used to hang out with? Billy the Kid Rios. I wonder whatever happened to
Billy Rios. Yeah, the white hat.
The white hats versus the gray hats versus the black hats and all that.
Well, it was real interesting how they tied in because Fred was, a master systems integrator. He was, a very, very intelligent Niagara person. So he really knew.
Yeah.
He knew how things worked, and so he was. They picked his brain, and he never went back. He left integration and went into cybersecurity. Yeah. So it's a interesting thing. We got to see him grow from a systems integrator to probably one of the most advanced experts. Domain experts on cybersecurity in the country.
Excellent. So what's next, big dog?
Well, just the new Niagara 10. So Niagara 10, everybody's excited. Niagara 10 is available through the Vicon channel, and I'm sure the OEMs will follow suit very quickly. But just as we were talking about, the recap releases involves Niagara framework in terms of visualization, rapid deployment, security, edge controllers, edge connectivity, certification, and IT compliance. So take a look at the post if you're interested about the advancements coming out in Niagara 4.10.
Therese Sullivan, wherever you are, we miss you. We'd love to have you come on the show. Ed Merwin, we miss you too. I mean, COVID is keeping us apart. Come back. The water's warm over here at Control Trends, man. It's safe. Kenny and I have been vaccinated. There's no chance you'll get COVID through our microphones. We're safe. We're safe. We're safe. So would love to catch up. I'm just looking forward to catching up with some people, Kenny. I don't know about you, buddy, but
yeah. It's still cold here. I don't know. You told me it was 30-some degrees down in Georgia. Remember?
It was
27 degrees, and now I think it's 31. Oh, it's up. It's around 40 now. But
there you go.
What's going on here, man?
Put the white beater on and go outside and cut the grass, Kenny.
Then we're getting
white beater shirt, that is. And for those people who might not know, the wife beater shirt is a T-shirt that does not have
Sleeves.
Yes,
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
called a wife beater. She can show off his big biceps there, and
Yeah.
But anyway, dude, I'm just getting in more and more trouble here. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to thank Ken Sinclair at Automated Buildings. Check out the April issue. Happy Easter, everybody out there that's celebrating Easter. And with that, remember, be bold, stay in control, stay relevant, and kiss a grandma.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers. Thanks a lot, big guy.
Yeah.
I need to get out more, man.
I like that you said